Have you ever wondered what truly hides behind the glittering lights, the thunderous applause, and the carefully polished public image of global superstars? What if the world's most adored boy band, yes, BTS themselves, had a past that fans rarely hear about, whispered only in late-night conversations, half-joking theories, and spicy online threads that disappear as fast as they appear? Tonight, we are stepping into that realm. A realm where fame meets youth, where perfection meets humanity, and where the past becomes a puzzle we can't help but solve. Welcome to one of the most surprising rankings you'll ever hear. And brace yourself, because the #1 spot, it's not just shocking, it's the kind of revelation that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about BTS. Before we dive deep, picture this. 7 young men thrown into the harsh, unpredictable universe of adolescence long before they became legends. They weren't always icons, inspirations, and world-class performers. Once upon a time, they were just students with earbuds tangled in their pockets, wandering the hallways of school, crushing on someone who smiled at them a little too sweetly, or feeling their heart pound like a drumline during a quiet walk home. Behind the boy band perfection are stories, some awkward, some bittersweet, some so unexpectedly dramatic you'll wonder why the world never talks about them more. And that's exactly why we're here tonight. Because today's countdown isn't about fame, awards, or dance precision. Oh no, we're talking about something far more personal, far more relatable, and somehow far more chaotic. We're ranking the top 7 BTS members with the most ex-girlfriends, a topic so wild, so unpredictably revealing, that even longtime ARMY might clutch their hearts while whispering, "Wait, seriously?" But remember, this isn't about gossip. This is about understanding the emotional history of 7 young men who lived real lives before the world decided to watch their every move. Stories of heartbreak, growth, innocent love, and the kind of youthful mistakes that make them feel closer to us than ever before. As we unravel each chapter, you'll feel like you're walking down the dim corridors of their early teenage years, flipping through old notebooks, hearing the echo of locker doors and shy confessions, smelling the chalk dust of classrooms where love notes were secretly exchanged. Some of these members had romances so fleeting they vanished like summer rain. Others, their stories are almost cinematic, complete with misunderstandings, unexpected twists, and endings that shaped the artists they would one day become. And the biggest question of all, who holds the crown for the wildest dating past? Who lived a life so surprisingly romantic that even other members were stunned? Was it the innocent-looking one? The mysterious one? The sunshine-like member who always smiles? Or perhaps the golden boy whose charm could melt concrete? You may think you know, but trust me, you don't. Not yet. So tighten your seatbelts, because this countdown won't just entertain you, it will pull you into a whirlwind of emotions, memories, and hidden truths that paint a whole new picture of BTS before fame wrapped around them like destiny. If you thought you were ready, think again. Because once number 7 begins, the surprises won't stop coming. Number 7, Suga, the quiet lover with hidden stories. Before the world knew him as Suga, the genius producer with a mind sharper than winter air and a heart that beats in rhythms nobody else can decode. Min Yoongi was just a boy living in Daegu, quietly figuring out life, music, and yes, love. On the surface, he always looked like the type who kept his distance. Headphones on, eyes half asleep, hoodie pulled low, walking through school hallways as if he belonged to a different universe. But here's the twist that almost no one expects beneath that calm, minimalistic facade was someone who felt emotions deeply, intensely, and with a sincerity that could shake anyone who ever got close to him. And surprisingly, even though he ranks last on this list, the story behind why he has the least number of ex-girlfriends is far more complex, emotional, and meaningful than anyone might imagine. You see, Yoongi wasn't the type who jumped from one relationship to another. He wasn't the boy who flirted just because he could, nor was he chasing validation or attention. He was, in every sense, a slow-burning fire, one that didn't explode quickly, but warmed everything around him with a quiet, comforting glow. The few times he did let someone into his world, he let them in deeply. And this is what makes his romantic history so intriguing. His relationships weren't casual or superficial. They were real, raw, and often connected to some of the most formative moments of his youth. And yes, there are stories that still float around in the fragments of interviews, school memories, and whispered confessions from people who once crossed paths with him. Take, for example, the girl from his early school days. The one he boldly wrote a letter to, the same letter that would later become a small but legendary part of BTS history. That confession wasn't just some innocent teenage crush. It was Yoongi's attempt to open his guarded heart for the first time. He liked her quietly, admired her from afar, stealing glances during class and pretending not to care when she passed by with her friends. To him, she was warmth in cold seasons. The kind of person who reminded him that even someone who lived half inside his own mind could feel something intensely human. When he said he liked her, it wasn't clumsy or immature. It was honest, thoughtful, even a bit poetic. That relationship, brief as it was, left an imprint on Yoongi's emotional timeline, shaping the way he viewed love, not as a game, but as something fragile, meaningful, and deserving of respect. And then there were the quiet connections. The people who felt drawn to his mysterious energy, the way he would sit alone in a corner working on beats, the way he spoke only when he had something real to say, the way he carried a kind of emotional intimacy without even trying. Yoongi's charm wasn't loud or attention-grabbing. It was the kind that made you want to understand him, decode him, and maybe, if you were lucky, be invited into his small, carefully curated universe. But being with him wasn't easy, not because he wasn't loving, but because he was deeply married to his passion. Music wasn't just a dream, it was oxygen, and anyone who dated him had to understand that they were sharing him with something much bigger than both of them. His relationships didn't last because he was cold or uninterested, quite the opposite. They ended because life pulled him in a direction so big, so overwhelming, that everything else began to orbit around his ambition. There were late nights, long distances, emotional walls built out of survival rather than rejection. Some girls felt lonely beside him, even if he cared for them. Some felt like they were competing with his mixtape drafts, his practices, his relentless self-improvement. And Yoongi, being Yoongi, didn't want to drag anyone through a life that felt like a battlefield of exhaustion and hope. So things ended not dramatically, but quietly, in the same gentle way he lived most of his early life. Yet, here's the emotional twist. Even though Yoongi didn't have many ex-girlfriends, the ones he did have mattered deeply. They weren't forgotten footnotes, they were threads woven into his journey. Every heartbreak, every misunderstanding, every goodbye contributed to the emotional palette that would later turn into some of his most heartbreaking lyrics, the ones that hit so universally because they were born from something personal, something real. When you listen to his songs about loneliness, longing, or the desire to be understood, you're not just hearing artistry, you're hearing the echoes of the relationships that shaped him. Suga ranks 7th, not because he lacked charm or opportunities. Oh, if he wanted to, he could have dated half the school. But that wasn't who he was. He chose depth over quantity, silence over noise, and sincerity over performance. And that's why his romantic history, though small, feels bigger than most, because every relationship he had was a reflection of the sensitive, thoughtful, quietly passionate person he's always been. If this is just number 7, imagine what emotional chaos awaits as we move up the list. Number 6. Jimin, the sweet charmer everyone fell for. Before the stage lights adored him, before millions of fans screamed his name across oceans, and long before he became the global symbol of softness meets power, Park Jimin was already something else entirely. He was the kind of boy who could unintentionally make hearts flutter just by walking into a room. And what makes Jimin's ranking so fascinating isn't that he had a long list of relationships, because he didn't. But the few he did have? Oh, they were intense, emotional, and filled with the kind of sweetness that only someone like him could create. Jimin's love life was like a small but unforgettable film. Short, but packed with moments so vivid that anyone who experienced them would remember them for years. Picture this. A boy from Busan, polite, soft-spoken, always smiling in that gentle way that made people feel instantly safe. Jimin wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the flirtiest, and he certainly wasn't the type to jump into relationships just because he could. Instead, he carried a kind of warmth that made people gravitate toward him naturally. His charm was never manufactured, it was born from sincerity, kindness, and a heart that felt everything a little too deeply. And because of that, he was the kind of person who made others fall first. Girls would write his name in notebooks, whisper about him during lunch breaks, and hide giggles whenever he walked past with his neat uniform and shy eyes. But Jimin, he didn't rush. He was thoughtful, cautious, and sometimes even afraid to hurt people's feelings. That's why the girls he did date, yes, The few real ex-girlfriends he's ever had experienced a level of sweetness that felt almost unreal. Jimin was the type of boyfriend who remembered tiny details, the way she tied her hair on rainy days, the snacks she always bought after class, the songs she hummed absent-mindedly. He didn't shower them with dramatic gestures. Instead, he gave them quiet moments that felt like golden memories, sharing umbrellas on windy mornings, talking about dreams while waiting for the bus, or laughing about inside jokes that only the two of them understood. One of the most whispered stories from his school days is about a girl he liked during his dance academy years. She wasn't just pretty, she was strong-willed, focused, someone who admired how tirelessly Jimin practiced even when everyone else had gone home. The two of them grew close in the most innocent way, staying late after class, giving each other tips on routines, watching each other improve day by day. Their relationship was never dramatic. It was tender, light, almost fragile. And like many first loves, it didn't end with a fight. It faded the way sunsets fade, beautiful, inevitable, and quietly heartbreaking. When he left Busan to pursue his dream in Seoul, both of them knew the distance wasn't just physical. Their worlds were separating, and neither wanted to hold the other back. And that's the pattern that shaped Jimin's love life before fame. He cared too much. Whenever he felt a relationship might become a burden to someone else, he pulled away, not out of selfishness, but out of fear of hurting them more. Sometimes he stayed silent even when he wanted to stay. Sometimes he let go even when it hurt him. And that's why the number of his ex-girlfriends isn't long, because every breakup cost him something emotionally, something he didn't take lightly. Jimin was the kind of person who needed to feel a real connection before he could date. And once he did, he gave his heart fully, even if only for a short time. What's even more touching is how these relationships influence the way Jimin performs. Look at the emotional intensity in his dances, the trembling softness in his voice during sad songs, the way he pours his entire heart into every performance. Those aren't just artistic choices. They come from someone who has known tenderness, longing, goodbye, hesitation, and vulnerability. His past relationships didn't just shape his memories, they shaped his art, his personality, and the way he relates to people even now. Girls who once dated Jimin describe him as someone who made them feel important, not because he said big romantic lines, but because he took the time to listen, to encourage, to be present. But they also describe the quiet sadness in him, the way he would sometimes stare into space, as if carrying weights nobody else could see. That emotional duality made him magnetic. And even though he's only number 6 on this list, the impact he left on the few he dated was deeper than some people leave in a lifetime. And here's the twist. Jimin had opportunities many. People liked him easily, but he chose carefully. So carefully that his list remained short but unforgettable. Which makes us wonder, if someone this emotionally generous is only in the 6th position, what kind of stories await us as we climb higher? Number 5. RM, the deep thinker with a history of quiet heartbreaks. Long before the world knew him as RM, the philosophical leader, the man whose words could calm storms and spark revolutions, Kim Namjoon was a boy navigating love with the same sincerity, curiosity, and vulnerability that shaped every part of his life. If you think RM's dating past must have been loud, dramatic, or filled with flashy romance, think again. His story is the opposite. Quiet heartbreaks, intellectual chemistry, and relationships that fell apart not because of a lack of love, but because life had other plans. Namjoon's position at number 5 isn't because he dated casually, it's because the few relationships he had were meaningful, complicated, and emotionally layered in ways that make his romantic past feel almost like a coming-of-age movie. Imagine Namjoon as a teenager. Tall, shy, thoughtful, a little clumsy, carrying heavy books, writing lyrics in the corner of a classroom, and always thinking too much about everything. He wasn't the guy who flirted with everyone, not because he couldn't, but because he valued depth over surface, honesty over attention. And ironically, that's what made people drawn to him. Girls found his intelligence intriguing, his politeness endearing, and his quiet maturity far beyond his age. But what made them fall for him wasn't just his mind, it was the soft awkwardness hidden underneath, the kind that made him accidentally bump into desks or laugh at his own mistakes. His first real relationship, yes, that relationship, famously mentioned years later, was not just some teenage fling. It was a turning point. Namjoon cared deeply for her. He admired her confidence, her independence, the way she knew herself so well while he was still figuring himself out. She was older, wiser, and emotionally grounded. And to him, that felt like stability. but that same independence became the reason they eventually broke apart. She had dreams, goals, and a world that didn't always match his. And when he found out she wasn't being honest with him, it shattered him not just because of betrayal, but because he truly believed relationships should be rooted in trust. His breakup wasn't loud, it was quiet devastation, the kind that left him staring at empty notebooks, wondering what he did wrong, even though the truth wasn't his fault. But despite the pain, Namjoon didn't become bitter. In fact, it made him even more introspective. He learned that love wasn't something to rush, something to play with, or something to use as validation. It was something delicate, requiring honesty and time, things he didn't always have as a trainee who spent nights writing lyrics until his fingers hurt. And that's what shaped his later relationships too. The girls he dated weren't random. They were people he connected with emotionally, intellectually, and artistically. People who sparked conversations that lasted hours. People he genuinely admired. But here's the heart-wrenching pattern. Namjoon didn't struggle with love, he struggled with timing. Every time he opened his heart to someone, life took him somewhere else. Long practices, trainee schedules, exhaustion, uncertainty, financial pressure. He couldn't give 100%. And it broke him to know he couldn't be the partner he wanted to be. So some relationships ended not because of conflict, but because both sides could feel the distance growing. Imagine having someone you care about, but every night you come home so tired you can barely speak. Imagine wanting to be present, but your dream consumes everything you have. That was Namjoon's reality. And the emotional residue of those relationships? You can hear them today in his music. The loneliness in Mono, the bittersweet longing in Soul, the vulnerability in Trivia Love, the aching honesty in Everything Owes. Those aren't just lyrics. They're reflections of real heartbreaks, quiet goodbyes, and the internal battles of someone who loves deeply but lives in a world that doesn't allow him to stay still. What makes Namjoon's story even more compelling is how his past relationships shaped the leader he became. He learned patience from heartbreak, clarity from confusion, and empathy from loss. He became the person who listens before he speaks, who thinks before he reacts, who understands the weight of others' emotions because he has carried his own. Every ex-girlfriend he ever had left him not with regret, but with a lesson, and each lesson became a part of the man the world admires today. And yet, despite his quiet romantic history, Namjoon's heart was never closed. He remained hopeful, curious, willing to love again even after being hurt. And that emotional bravery mixed with his intellectual depth is what makes his ranking at number 5 so unexpectedly captivating. If someone with this much emotional storytelling in his past only ranks 5th, what kind of romantic chaos, charm, or history will we uncover in the next names? Number 4. Jewel's Hope, the sunshine with a surprisingly stormy romantic past. From the outside, Young Ho-seok has always been the embodiment of light, the smile that never dims, the laughter that fills every room, the person who can turn a gloomy day into a festival just by walking in. But what most people never expect, what shocks even longtime fans, is that behind that sunshine, J-Hope's romantic past holds far more complexity than his bright persona suggests. You see, Ho-seok wasn't just the happy kid in school. He was incredibly warm, attentive, emotionally present, and naturally magnetic. And when someone like that walks through the hallways of adolescence, people notice. People fall. And yes, more than a few relationships formed around that warmth and later faded like sunsets over Gwangju's rooftops. Before debut, before dance practices consumed every second of his life, Ho-seok was famous in his school not just for his dance skills, but for his personality. He was the kind of boy who remembered everyone's birthday, who lent his notes to anyone struggling, who ran to help if someone tripped in the hallway. That sort of kindness is rare enough to make hearts gravitate toward him like moths drawn to a flame. And that's exactly how his early dating life began. Slowly, naturally, with girls who were drawn to his positive energy, his respectfulness, and the way he made even ordinary days feel cinematic. His first real relationship is one that people still talk about quietly. Ho-seok was young, earnest, and wearing his heart on his sleeve. She was someone who admired his passion for dance, someone who waited after practice to walk home with him, someone who believed in him even when he doubted himself. Their relationship had the sweetness of a high school drama, the kind where holding hands after class feels like the world is cheering in the background. But that sweetness didn't last. As Ho-seok grew more serious about his dream, his practice hours stretched late into the night. He'd show up exhausted, drenched in sweat, mind filled with choreography instead of conversations. She tried to endure it, she really did. But eventually, the silence between them grew louder than their laughter. Their breakup wasn't explosive. It was two young hearts quietly realizing that love alone couldn't compete with destiny. And then came another relationship a little older, a little more mature, and surprisingly intense. This time, Hoseok wasn't the one chasing, he was the one being pursued. She was confident, bold, and deeply fascinated by his bright, contagious energy. To her, Hoseok was the warm sun after a long winter. To him, she was the storm he never expected. Their chemistry was undeniable, but so were their differences. She was expressive, emotional, and wanted more time than Hoseok could give. Hoseok, trying desperately to balance love with his growing ambitions, found himself stretched thin. Arguments started, not angry ones, but painful ones. The kind where one person begs for time and the other apologizes for not having any. Their relationship ended with tears, promises to stay friends, and a lingering sadness that followed Hoseok for months. What makes his romantic past so interesting is this simple truth. Hoseok gave his whole heart every time he loved. He didn't date for fun. He didn't play with feelings. He loved deeply, sincerely, like someone who believed wholeheartedly in making another person smile. And that's exactly why his relationships ended painfully, because even when he tried to hold on, the weight of his dreams pulled him farther and farther away from the normal life his partners wanted. People often mistake his happiness for simplicity, but Hoseok is one of the most emotionally layered members of BTS. Behind every bright grin, there are memories of nights lying awake, wondering if he made the right choices, wondering if he hurt people unintentionally, wondering why chasing a dream meant losing pieces of himself along the way. His ex-girlfriends weren't forgotten. They were cherished chapters that taught him maturity, sacrifice, balance, and the bittersweet truth that love doesn't always align with the timing of life. And here's something even more surprising. Many people who once dated Hoseok still speak about him with kindness, saying he was the type of boyfriend who made them feel appreciated, protected, and genuinely cared for. They don't talk about him as the one who got away, but as the one who taught them what real respect feels like. That's the kind of legacy Jhope left in his early love life, soft but unforgettable. So yes, Jhope ranks at number 4 not because he dated a lot, but because his romantic past was deep, emotionally charged, and more complex than his sunshine persona ever revealed. And if Hoseok, with all his warmth and emotional gravity, sits here at 4th place, then the top 3 must be hiding stories even more unbelievable. Number 3, Jin, the heartthrob with a surprisingly dramatic dating timeline. Before Kim Seokjin became worldwide handsome, the man whose face could stop time, whose laugh could heal heartbreak, and whose presence could fill an entire room with warmth, he was already that guy in school. The one everyone whispered about. The one mothers liked instantly. The one teachers trusted, the one whose looks, kindness, and natural charisma made him stand out even before fame touched his life. So when people hear that Jin ranks 3rd on this list, they always react the same way. Wait, only 3rd? With a face like that? But that's exactly what makes his story so fascinating. Because Jin didn't just date because he could, he dated because his heart was drawn to people in genuine, emotional, unexpected ways. And the stories behind those relationships are far more dramatic and heartfelt than anyone ever talks about. Let's rewind to his school days in Gwacheon, long before the world knew his iconic dad jokes and prince-like visuals. Jin was the type who looked like he came straight out of a drama, clean-cut, tall, charming without trying, athletic, and polite to everyone. But here's the fun twist. He wasn't the loud, confident type who walked around showing off. He was shy, very shy. The kind of boy who would panic internally when someone complimented him. The kind of boy who tried to hide his handsomeness by acting playful or goofy. But that only made him more attractive. And unsurprisingly, girls were drawn to him like magnets. His first girlfriend was someone from his neighborhood, a sweet and funny girl who admired Jin's humility more than his looks. Their relationship was innocent and adorable, walking home together, sharing snacks, studying in the library, and joking about who would fail the next math test. But what made this relationship memorable is the ending. Jin was scouted by SM Entertainment at that time, yes, the famous story where he was so overwhelmed that he ran away because he thought the casting director was a scam. That moment changed everything. As soon as entertainment agencies started noticing him, rumors spread quickly in school, and the relationship began to feel impossible. They broke up quietly, tearfully, with promises to stay in touch that slowly drifted into the past. But Jin didn't stay single forever. His second relationship was the opposite: passionate, complicated, and incredibly emotional. She was confident, bold, and surprisingly protective of him. She liked the attention he got, but she also feared it. When Jin started dreaming seriously of becoming an actor, she grew scared of the world he was stepping into. Their arguments weren't about jealousy, they were about fear of losing each other to their ambitions. Jin, being young and torn between love and future, tried to juggle everything, but dreams don't shrink for anyone. The relationship fell apart slowly, painfully, with both holding on until the very last moment. This breakup left a deep scar on Jin, the kind that stayed with him, even as he entered Big Hit and began the long, exhausting road toward debut. But the story doesn't stop there. Jin had one more relationship before fame completely swallowed his life. And this one was the most bittersweet of all. She was someone he admired, intelligent, kind-hearted, someone who saw beyond his good looks and genuinely understood his insecurities. They connected on a deeper level, sharing fears, thoughts, and long conversations about life. It felt serious. It felt right, but it also felt impossible. As trainee life intensified, Jin found himself with no time, no energy, and no way to be present. He tried every message, every call, every small effort, but the distance grew anyway. One night, after another grueling practice, he realized that love couldn't survive in the shadow of the dream he was chasing. They parted respectfully, with tears, gratitude, and a quiet acceptance that timing not love had destroyed them. What makes Jin's romantic past stand out isn't the number of his ex-girlfriends, it's the emotional depth of each relationship. Jin wasn't someone who dated casually. He gave people his full attention, his full sincerity. Every girlfriend felt cherished, protected, and genuinely valued. But every breakup also left him with lessons that shaped him into the emotionally mature, family-oriented, and empathetic person he is today. And let's not forget, Seokjin's visuals alone made him one of the most popular boys in every environment he ever stepped into. Opportunities? Endless. Confessions? Countless. But Jin always chose carefully, cautiously, and only when something truly moved him. That's why, despite ranking #3, his dating history feels richer, heavier, more cinematic than people expect. A story filled with innocent beginnings, passionate middles, and heartbreaks wrapped in stardust. If Jin's romantic timeline is already this dramatic, just imagine the chaos waiting in the top 2.
Number 2, Taehyung, the enigmatic lover with a trail of quiet but intense romances. If there's one BTS member whose love life has always been wrapped in mystery, poetry, and a kind of cinematic magic, it's Kim Taehyung. V has always carried an aura, something you can't describe, only feel. A mix of innocence and danger, softness and unpredictability, warmth and distance. And that aura is exactly why Taehyung does not just have a simple dating past. He has a constellation of relationships that were quiet on the outside, but incredibly intense on the inside. Taehyung's romantic timeline isn't messy or loud. It's emotional, reflective, passionate in a silent way. The kind of love story that happens between two people who feel more than they speak. And that's what places him at number 2. Not the number of ex-girlfriends, but the weight of each connection, the depth, the complexity, the unforgettable imprint he left on each person who ever fell for him. Let's go back to Taehyung's teenage years in Daegu. Even before he became the global icon with soulful eyes and a voice that sounds like velvet dipped in moonlight, he was already drawing attention without meaning to. He wasn't the typical loud, popular boy. In fact, he was strange in the most lovable way, making weird jokes, suddenly dancing in the middle of the hallway, wearing mismatched clothes because he thought they looked cool, and smiling with a kind of purity that made people stop and stare. Girls liked him not because he was perfect, but because he was different, authentic, effortlessly intriguing. He was the boy who could be deeply serious one moment, then burst into laughter the next. And that unpredictability made him magnetic. His first relationship was surprisingly poetic. She wasn't the prettiest or the most popular girl in school. She was quiet, artistic, someone who understood Taehyung's oddness instead of judging it. They bonded over small things, sketchbooks, old songs, shared snacks, evening walks. Their conversations weren't dramatic, but they were meaningful. Taehyung wasn't the type to flirt aggressively. He was the type to look into someone's eyes and make them feel seen. But being young and sensitive, they fell apart when life began pulling them in different directions. Their breakup wasn't a fight. It was a moment of acceptance, a promise whispered at a bus stop, a goodbye that hurt more than they expected. But Taehyung didn't stay single long. His second love was the complete opposite, fiery, confident, brilliant. She challenged him, called him out on his weird jokes, complimented his deep thoughts, and Taehyung loved that. He loved a mind that sparked his. Their chemistry was undeniable, almost electric. But their relationship was chaotic in the most cinematic way. They'd laugh until they cried, then argue passionately the next day because both of them felt things too intensely. Taehyung's sensitivity clashed with her intensity, and while the love was real, the pace was exhausting. When they finally broke up, it felt like a world ending, not with anger, but with that hollow ache you get when you lose someone you thought you'd keep forever. Then came the relationship fans whisper about the most, the one that happened right before he became a trainee. This girl was the most influential in Taehyung's emotional development. She believed in him before he believed in himself. She encouraged him to audition, supported him through doubts, stayed up late listening to him practice. Their bond wasn't just romantic, it was soul deep. They were best friends who fell in love, or lovers who acted like best friends. It didn't matter. What mattered was the connection. But once Taehyung entered trainee life, everything changed. Suddenly he had no time, no energy, no ability to be present. The distance grew quietly, painfully. They ended things not because the love died, but because they both knew the world he was stepping into wouldn't allow him to return easily. That breakup haunted Taehyung for years. You can hear it in the softness of his voice, in the nostalgia he carries, in the way he looks at the sky when talking about memories. And here's the thing, Taehyung never dated casually. Every girl he ever loved was someone who touched him deeply, emotionally, spiritually. He's the type of person who remembers the perfume they wore, the songs they liked, the dreams they shared. He carries people in his heart long after they've gone. That's why his relationships feel heavier than most. Even short ones had the emotional depth of a long-term bond. And being someone who feels emotions in 4D, colors, textures, atmospheres, Taehyung experiences love like a painter experiences art, fully, obsessively, and with complete surrender. His mysterious aura today, it didn't appear out of nowhere. It was shaped by past relationships that taught him longing, heartbreak, patience, and the art of letting go. He learned not to show everything on the surface. He learned to protect the soft parts of himself. He learned that love can be gentle, chaotic, fleeting, or unforgettable, but it always comes at a cost. That emotional complexity is exactly what puts him in the number 2 position. If Taehyung's quiet but intense dating history already feels this deep and cinematic, brace yourself. Because number 1, the one who tops this list, his story isn't just surprising, it's jaw-dropping. Number 1, Jungkook, the untold heartbreaker hidden behind the golden Maknae image. If you've ever looked at Jungkook and thought, there's no way someone this shy, polite, bunny-like, and unbelievably busy could have a complicated dating history. Well, let's just say the universe has a unique talent for delivering plot twists exactly when you least expect them. And Jungkook's romantic background. It's the kind of twist that doesn't just make fans gasp. It makes them sit up, lean in, and question everything they thought they knew about the world's most adored Maknae. Because behind the muscles, tattoos, vocals that feel like an emotional sucker punch, and that signature mix of softness and danger, lies a story layered with chapters that were never supposed to be public, whispered tales that slipped through cracks, and memories he carries with equal parts pride and lingering ache. And what you're about to hear, it's the kind of narrative that feels like a documentary reel unspooling late at night, raw, honest, full of little clues, and stitched together from years of rumors, sightings, fan confessions, school anecdotes, training era whispers, and those rare emotional admissions Jungkook makes without realizing he's revealing everything. From the very beginning, Jungkook was never someone who actively chased romance. Instead, romance always seemed to find him, whether he wanted it or not. Picture him as the quiet kid at school who sat near the window, doodling in the margins of his notebook, too introverted to start conversations, but too charming to be ignored. Girls would talk about him in the hallways, whispering about the boy with the soft eyes and shy smile, the boy who ran fast in PE, sang well during school festivals, and smelled like laundry detergent and mint shampoo. Didn't take long before classmates began recounting stories. A few names, a couple of short puppy love relationships, the kind where you hold hands once and never make eye contact again out of sheer embarrassment. But Jungkook's life accelerated too fast for ordinary, childish romance to take root. When he joined Big Hit at such a young age, the chaos of training, moving cities, and suddenly being surrounded by older members who became both brothers and mentors forced him to grow up fast. Yet even in the middle of that, he didn't escape attention. Staff, trainees from other companies, and even people outside the entertainment world began noticing the trainee with the charismatic aura that felt like a star trying very hard to pretend he wasn't one. Some connections were brief, simple sparks that faded before they could ignite, while others lasted longer, stretching across months of late-night calls, study session video chats, and quiet confessions about loneliness, homesickness, ambition, and fear. But the most talked-about story, the one that still resurfaces in online discussions like a ghost refusing to sleep, is the one involving the girl he dated before debut. Not a celebrity, not a model, but an ordinary student who saw Jungkook not as an idol in the making, but as a teenage boy trying to figure himself out. Their relationship didn't last, of course. How could it? Debut was approaching, pressure was rising, and the kind of love that exists before fame rarely survives the storm that follows. Jungkook has hinted, indirectly and unintentionally, that he carried guilt from that breakup, not because he did something wrong, but because he feared he had hurt someone who cared for him at a time when all he knew how to do was chase a dream that demanded everything. After BTS debuted, everything changed again. Fame exploded. The world began watching. And yet, if there's anything more surprising than the number of girls rumored to have liked Jungkook before debut, it's the fact that even while being an idol locked in a fortress of schedules, scandals, and restrictions, Jungkook somehow still found space to connect with people in ways that felt deeply human. A barista who shared her favorite music recommendations, a dancer he admired at an event, a tattoo artist he talked to about art, a friend of a friend he met through gaming circles. Not all of these were relationships. Most weren't. Some were just fleeting chemistry, moments where two lives brushed past each other briefly, leaving a warm imprint before drifting apart again. But the reason Jungkook lands at number 1 on this list isn't because of the number itself. It's because of the weight behind those moments. The sincerity, the secrecy, the longing he doesn't show but can't fully hide either, especially when he sings songs about yearning, distance, or heartbreak. Fans often say that Jungkook loves with his whole soul, and perhaps that's the real story here. He's the type who doesn't fall often, but when he does, it hits him hard. So hard that even after years, even after fame, even after changing, growing, maturing into the powerhouse he is today, he still remembers the people who once held small pieces of his heart. And maybe that's why he stands at the very top of this ranking. Not because he dated the most, but because his emotional history is the most intricate, the most human, the most unexpected, and the most hauntingly real. In the end, Jungkook remains the golden Maknae, talented, iconic, unstoppable, but also just a man who lived, loved, lost, and learned, carrying those quiet stories with him as he continues moving forward into a world that watches his every breath. And that, more than any rumor or list, is what truly makes him number 1.